What is up? Welcome back to another edition of 92.3 Preps. I am Jackson Schneider, your host as always. Episode 4. 4 weeks into this project as it continues to grow and we continue to uncover fun stories of teams, coaches, athletes from all around the Wichita area. I'm having a blast putting this thing together and having it grow, and the response has been really, really exciting. I know a lot of you are enjoying checking this show out, and we continue to work on uncovering just fun stories. And this week, I'm very excited about our two guests, two coaches that make deep postseason runs in their respective sports, one of which won a state championship and the first for their school in 40 years on the baseball diamond. And that is the Mulvane Wildcat baseball team and head coach Steve Nelson. We'll talk with him here in a little bit about his journey from bat boy in 1986 to head coach in 2026 and being around the two state baseball championships for the Wildcats in different capacities. And we'll talk a lot about his team and some of the athletes that they had this year that have set the standard for Mulvane baseball. And it's just a fantastic chat. And that's just one of our two interviews. The other we'll visit with maybe the Cinderella story of the postseason this year, and that is the campus Colts softball team. The Lady Colts got off to a slow start this year, but they grew over the course of the season and made a great run, not only to get to the state tournament, but to get to the state championship game. And they finish as runners-up in 6A, but they came into the state tournament as the 8th seed because of the slow start they got off to this year. But that didn't stop them from competing and working hard and believing that they could win a state championship. And they put themselves in position to do that, and again, fell just short in the state title game, but made things very exciting for their program and for the Hayesville community and for, of course, campus supporters. And so we'll talk with Coach Prichard about her team and just what made them such a unique and special group this year to make a run like that and how they look to build off of it in the future as well. So two really exciting, very fun interviews from great coaches in our community. Very, very excited for you to hear each of those. But I do want to remind you that you could check out all of our previous shows if you haven't seen them yet on the YouTube page. Just go to ESPN Wichita and check them out. We've posted some clips on our social medias as well of past interviews, links to those shows. Still getting everything settled on the podcast platform, the audio-only platform on Spotify and so on. But that will be here very, very soon. So don't you worry. We'll make it as easy as possible for us to get you your shows every single week. And we're going to continue through the summer. We'll take a couple of breaks for some holidays and whatnot, but the show will go on. Don't worry. Even though sports are stopping for now, there will be stories still to uncover. And I'm very excited about some potential future guests. Talked to one earlier today that could be very exciting in the near future as well. Guy that's very well connected in high school sports around the state as well as the college game. So we'll work on that little tease for you on what may be coming in the next week or two on this show. But for now, that's enough of me. You're tired of hearing me talk. Let's talk to some of our guests. We'll take. When we come back, we will be joined by Emily Prichard, the head softball coach of the campus Lady Colts. And then, of course, Steve Nelson, the head baseball coach of the Mulvane Wildcats. That's next here on 92.3 Preps, an ESPN Wichita production. Welcome back into 92.3 Preps. I'm Jackson Schneider. Pleased to be joined today by the head softball coach of the campus Colts in Emily Prichard. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. It's kind of a weird time in the year. There's no sports. School is out. So hopefully a spring sports coach like yourself gets to relax a little bit. Have you had a chance to unwind a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit. I am also doing summer school, so I'm still doing things with the kiddos, but my afternoons and evenings have been very less busy.
Well, you guys had a great run at the end of the season. You were the one of the lower seeds coming in, and you make a great run through regionals. You're the 8th seed coming into the state tournament. But when I talked to you during the state tournament, it seemed like your team wasn't really concerned at all with seeding and being considered the underdog, kind of expected to compete and be in that situation. Just walk us through your team and the mindset you were kind of using to make as great of a push as you did to ultimately become 6A runner up.
Yeah. So, I mean, 2 years ago, they were in the state championship also, and they took second place. And we have a lot of girls that were on that team. Like, I think there's three of those, and they played in the game. So they returned. Last year, we just didn't perform as well. We had some holes. And so we knew going into this year that these girls had everything that they need to be successful. And we just kind of had to find our groove. It took us a while to find our groove, but we finally found it. But I mean, I had no doubt in the mind. The girls, got to get them to buy in a little bit at the beginning. It took us way longer than I would have liked, but we finally got there. And once they bought in, they knew that they were unstoppable. They had a good bond with all the girls throughout the year, but by the end of the year, their bond was amazing. And I think that's when they fully gave in, when they all created that bond and everything.
Oh, absolutely. And, talking with a few of your players after the win over Mill Valley in the semifinals, that was kind of what they had said. They were like,
Mhm.
we didn't have a great start, but we have a team that kind of comes together and we're always supporting one another. We just have this belief. As a coach, how do you go about trying to build that sort of a culture within your team of hey, we're all in this together. We got to have each other's backs, and we can do this, even if we weren't playing as great to start the year. Like, the only thing that matters is us and
Mhm.
now.
Yeah, so I mean, as a player, I played my life playing softball, spent my life, and I've been a part of good, positive teams, and I've been a part of negative teams, and I feel like those negative teams just make the season stink, and that's just not something that I want in my culture at campus. I want a good, positive culture. I don't care if you like somebody or not. We're just going to support each other because I think that's what makes us be successful. And it was not hard with those girls. Those girls. They were cheering each other on. They were the little things. The biggest moment that I saw those girls, and it just like was amazing to see the culture, was we had a sophomore. She hit her first ever home run in a game, and we were down quite a bit. It was just one of those games for us, and the girls just lost it. Like, we were so excited. Her sister is a senior, and so they were just like, there were some tears shed. But it was just those moments of seeing the culture that we at campus have created for those girls. It was amazing.
Absolutely. And the big win over Derby in the state quarterfinals is really the one that kind of caught everyone's eyes
Mhm.
statewide, and rightfully so. I mean, they were undefeated and had all these accolades. But again, in talking with your team, um, the next game, they had no doubt in their minds that they could compete and could beat Derby because of the success that they had really had against them previously. And it was, funny enough, not even a win that they were talking about. It was a 1-0 loss, but it was an ultra competitive game and one where your team was right there.
Mhm.
How do you look back at kind of that game in the regular season, losing to Derby 1-0, as kind of this moment of, hey, like, we didn't win, but it's right there. Like, we just need a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that game we made one more mistake than they did for it to be that 1-0 game. And so looking back, I think everybody, Derby is Derby. Like, everybody knows who Derby is, and I just feel like everybody knows that they're good and it's going to be a tough game. And so I think going into it, I have to remind the girls that anything is possible and they can do whatever if they just believe and they work hard. And that's the mindset that we kind of went into, is just, hey, like, we can do this. We are amazing of ourselves, and we can do anything if we just make less mistakes than them. And so I feel like that's what we did, is we made fewer mistakes than them. We hit the ball a little bit more than they did. But going back to that 1-0 game, that Kylie just pitched an amazing game, and I knew that if Kylie could just pitch a good game and pitch her pitch like herself, we would be good.
Absolutely. And you need a pitcher like that always to make big runs. Like one good pitcher can make all the difference in the sport of softball, I know. And to have her, especially at such a young age, she's just a sophomore, right? So to see her perform that way and on that stage as just a sophomore, how excited does that make you for what could still be done? I mean, she's got 2 more years at least to impact your program, not with just her skills, but just her mindset and to get other girls to kind of follow in her suit.
Kylie has such a unique mindset compared to other girls. She is the princess of the team. She is just so lovable. She's so respectful. She's funny, but she's like a quiet funny. She doesn't always talk, but she's the one that we consider the princess. And she doesn't get the balls hit harder at her, or if we need somebody to be our cut from the outfield, we'll just have her catch in for us. So her mindset is she just is out there having fun and grinding. She likes to be good. There were some games earlier in the season that she struggled, and she apologized for not being her best. And to me, that just showed that she cares so much about our team and about softball. And so I'm so excited to see how she grows. She is grinding. She, was hurt her freshman year, so we didn't get a chance to utilize her. But she's a hard worker. And I'm so excited to see what she can do in the future. And, and it's not just, she's not the only pitcher that we have either. We have a couple others, Aubrey Storm and Brooklyn Burling, and they've both helped us out. And won some games for us and competed. And so, because it'd be hard to just use one pitcher, having both of them is really good for us as well.
Absolutely. And, it's one thing to have good pitching, but good catching is almost just as important.
Yes.
I know Kyla Caudillo was spectacular for you guys in some big moments this year. Could you just tell us a little bit about her and how she's helped make those pitchers a little bit better as well?
Yes. So Kira actually
Kira, I'm sorry. I called her Kyla.
No,
my apologies. I promise I know her name.
So Kira actually, it's been so fun to see her grow. She is kind of quiet. She can kind of be a little sassy, with her teammates, just kind of like to give them a hard time. But when she is behind the plate, especially with Kylie, she is just cheering them on. Like, you will constantly hear her talking, even in the middle of a pitch. Kylie could be getting ready to release a ball, and she's like, "Come on, you got this." And so to see the growth of her from the beginning of the season to the end was just really cool to see. She was always trying to, she was cheering for everybody, but just especially Kylie. Kylie, she kind of took under her wing, and she was always encouraging her. If Kylie kind of got a little flustered out there in the mound, she would go and call time and calm her down, tell her a joke. Or honestly, I feel like sometimes she probably told her to quit sucking, because that's the kind of relationship that they had. So she was a good leader, and showed Kylie some really good things. And I think Kylie's going to take those over to the next 2 years that she has with us.
Now, it's such a special thing to make a state run like that, but to be able to do it here in Wichita and just a few minutes away from home, I feel like that just takes it to the next level. Because when I was there for the semifinal game, I was blown away at just the community support. I mean, it felt like the entire town of Hayesville was there, and I had seen, your principal Shane Seeley was there, Ron Allen, the AD, and the support of the entire school was right there. What does it mean to you as head coach to know that the school, the community has your back, and they're going to be there to support you, especially in a moment like that?
Yeah. So 2 years ago, we were in Lawrence, and we had nobody really other than some parents, and our principals were there and our AD. So like, it was dead silent. So be able to be so close to Wichita, and to be the team that gets to experience that it was awesome. Our school, our booster club, there were so many people that donated money so people could get in for free. And that was amazing. They were doing whatever they could to get those girls, fans in the stands. And I think that's the most important thing, is those girls got that moment to have everybody there cheering them on. And so that was amazing for me to see as a coach. I loved the support. I love softball, so anytime anybody can see the game that I love, it's just amazing to me. But the community came out, and it was just awesome.
Again, we're visiting with the head coach of the Campus Colts softball team in Emily Prichard. Coach, again, such a special year, such a special run. How do you feel like the way that your team finished this season can maybe take you into next year and beyond? Because we talked about earlier kind of not getting off to the best of starts this year. Do you feel like this run can help you kind of get off to a quicker start and get going even further next season?
I sure hope so. I mean, I always, want to start off good. I always want to win. The girls always want to win. They always want to be the best. So I feel like next year I learned how to be a better coach throughout the year, and I learned how the girls need me to be. So going into next year, I think that I will be better. I know I will be better for them. And so I think me just being better and holding them accountable in a different way is going to help us already right at the beginning. So I truly think that next year we can do big things again if we just not be the 8th seed. Win some games.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, again, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. Love talking with you and uncovering kind of the stories behind the story with your team making a run like this. But I did have one last question, and that's just like to ask you a little bit more about this group and just the seniors that are outgoing and the underclassmen that we've mentioned that are still going to be here. How do you feel like this program is better because of this year's group?
Man, our seniors brought so much different. Both of our seniors were just different. Maddie was pretty quiet. She was our center fielder and our leadoff hitter, and she was pretty quiet. I actually asked her to step up and lead the outfielders because we had some girls that have never played outfield before, or it was something that they just didn't do much. And Maddie is an amazing outfielder. Not much touches the ground when she's out there. So getting her to become a leader out there, I think truly helped our team. And she taught me some things as well, so I can help teach them next year. And so that was really cool. And then Kira, like I said, she really took our pitchers under the wing, especially Kylie, and found ways to encourage them when I couldn't. Because, sometimes, your coaches can encourage you so much, and it's like you need to hear it from somebody else. So Kira definitely took over the role of doing that. And then our juniors, wow, there's going to be so many seniors next year. But our juniors really stepped it up this year. Emmy was hurt. She was our starting second baseman her first 2 years, but she was hurt last year for a little while. So she became our designated hitter, and she stepped up in that role. And then she got cleared right as state was getting ready to start, I think actually at regionals, and she could play outfield. And so she stepped up because she knew we needed another outfielder out there. And she worked her butt off. And so she's just a natural born leader. And so it's been really awesome to see her grow. And then another one is Alexis Butler, who is our shortstop. She's funny. I honestly will say she had the most growth this year. When it comes to leading the team, she was kind of just a silly goofy, didn't really always know what was going on. But when Reese took over taking second base, she took her under her wing and always made sure to know where she was going with the next pitch or with the next play. Constant communication. She really brought the loudness in the dugout. When she wasn't in there, the dugout was just a little bit quieter. When she's in there, they were always cheering each other on, even just to the next level. So that's awesome. And then Lily Clements, our third baseman, she's just the sweetest girl, but she's so funny too. She's got some funny things, and she's a hard worker, and she can hit the ball like no other. I just feel like I could go on forever talking about my girls because they are all amazing in their own way. And they all bring so much to our team. And so I think it just kind of, you could pick somebody and they could just do whatever you need. That's the kind of team we have, is they will do whatever they need to win. And so I could put somebody that's never pitched before, and they will go out there and they will try their best to pitch just because they know that that's what we needed at the time. And so I truly think that I'm lucky to have gotten such an amazing group of girls to coach. And I really can't wait to see what they do next year. And then after high school, some of these girls are going to be doing some big things. And I can't wait to see that.
Awesome. Well, Coach, again, I really appreciate the time. It's been a blast catching up with you, and good luck in the future. Hopefully we'll be talking about another deep playoff run next year.
Yes,
Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
That's Emily Prichard. She's the head softball coach of the Campus Lady Colts. We'll take a break and be back with more right after this here on 92.3 Preps. Welcome back to 92.3 Preps. I am Jackson Schneider. Pleased to be joined today by the head coach of the state champion Mulvane Wildcats in Steve Nelson. Coach, thank you so much for the time today, and congratulations on being a state champ.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys having us.
Absolutely. A fantastic story. Outstanding year. I mean, we mentioned your state champs, but what was it? 28-1 on the year. That is a heck of a season. Take me through just kind of your process of learning about this group that you had, and when maybe you realized that this was a team that could do something special like that.
Well, pretty blessed with 4 of the 5 seniors have been a huge part of our program for all 4 years of high school. So just developing relationships with them throughout the time. And just knowing the progression of what it was when they were freshmen. I think if I look back right, I think we won about 4 games their freshman year with them starting to help us a little bit. And then we jumped up right away to like 17 and 21. And so sometime last year, I knew the group was pretty special and had something. We obviously didn't finish last year off the way we wanted to at state. And so I think it just kind of motivated them even more. But yeah, it was probably their sophomore year. I knew they were going to be a big part of it, but their junior year, I started knowing we were going to have something at some point. So,
and I read a story from the Wichita Eagle where you were a bat boy for Mulvane's first ever baseball state championship 40 years ago. Can you tell me a little bit about just your connection to the program? Sounds like you have been a part of Mulvane baseball for a really long time.
I have. It actually kind of started with basketball, but my dad was the assistant principal here at the high school. My mom and dad were both teachers, so I've been here for my whole life. And sports was a big thing for me. And I used to wait for my dad after school, and I had to go in and watch basketball practice because I was in the building. And then it got to the point where I was like, hey, that worked out okay. I'm going to go down to the baseball field, and he'll just pick me up on his way home. And I was just watching practice, and one day the head coach told me I should come in into the dugout, and I started going to every practice and being a part of it. And then they asked me if I would be their bat boy, and it just became a thing. And I'll never forget. I started thinking about this on the way to Emporia on that Monday. But I remember we had some old blue passenger vans. That was our way to get there. And I got to drive with the team to Emporia when they won the whole thing back in '86. And so I was in the head coach's van with all the players and kind of felt like I was some big part of it. I wasn't, but you just felt like that. And it was all tying back to 40 years. And we went to Emporia on that Monday and started really kind of thinking about it. And so I don't know, just I've gotten really lucky to be able to go to state with him as a bat boy. I went to state twice as a player playing for that same head coach. And then been fortunate as an assistant and a head coach to be able to go to the state tournament. And I think it really stuck to me the day that he showed up on Thursday in Manhattan, because I think he's made an appearance at every state baseball tournament I've coached in. And so just that, I don't know, that relationship that he built with me made baseball so much more important to me growing up. And I hope that I do that a little bit for these kids too. But it meant a lot just being a part of this town in this program forever.
Absolutely. Now, Let's talk about some of those program guys you mentioned. You had multiple seniors that have been a part of this run for, like you said, all 4 years now. And I know some of them were really integral pieces to the state championship this year. So tell us a little bit about that senior class and what they were able to accomplish this year.
Oh, wow. I don't even know, I guess, where to start. I'll start real quick. Hagan Workins is the first year kid, came over to us from campus. He brought a ton on the mound, and then just with his presence at the plate, he ended up being like second on our team in RBIs. Very, very good 2-strike hitter. Just brought a lot. He just, he kind of added to what we already had. And he's got this presence on the mound. He's intelligent. He's getting ready to go to Johnson County. And I think when it's all said and done, he's going to be some kind of a pitching coach at some point, because he just knows what he's doing with that. Then you go to the lifers of the program, starting with Gray Sanders. The kid is phenomenal. He's a phenomenal human being, but also just a great baseball player. And being able to have him go on the mound for the last 2 years and kind of almost knowing, for sure you're going to be in a game. Like all you got to do is score a couple of runs, because he's going to keep the other team down. And he's known for throwing 97 and really can lighten it up on the radar gun. But man, he can pitch too. And just his presence with the team it's unmatched, the type of leadership he had, because he's just a fun-natured kid and everything. You look at kids like Reed Hackelman. He's just a hit waiting to happen. He's played everywhere for us. He caught all year last year. This year he played a lot of first and some third. He even played second. I think when he was a freshman, he played some outfield for us. He's just a solid bat at all times, and tough as nails type kid. Manny Myers, you put him in center field, and that's been locked down for 4 years, where you just know you got a kid that can run and go get everything. And then on top of that, he's been our leadoff batter for 3 out of 4 years, and just gets better and better each year, and love and passion for the game and for Mulvane, for that kid. And then, top it off with our player of the year this year in 4A in Parker Club. He's been a mainstay for us on the mound since his sophomore year. And he started first 2 regional baseball games for us his sophomore and junior year. And then this year, he didn't even pitch in the regionals because of the depth we have, and we needed him behind the plate so much. And he's going to go to Louisville as a catcher. Defensively, I think he's unmatched back there. And then I think he's hit over 400 the last 2 years. Just great leadership. They bought into the program. They are program first type kids. Every single one of them was Mulvane baseball over themselves. They all are going to go on and do some great things individually. But that was the big difference, is we got talented kids that just bought in to this program. So
to me, that sounds like a cultural shift, right, in your program, where you've got a class like that can come in as freshmen and work their way up and build something, not only for themselves, but for those that are going to come after them now, the juniors that become seniors, the 8th graders that see them win state that become freshmen next year. How excited does that make you for the future of what Mulvane baseball can be, just building off of this year and this senior class especially? Yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, I didn't even get to our junior class that's loaded with kids that are already have, scholarships to go places. But yeah, the future is it looks bright. I'm excited as can be, and then like you said, the difference of that leadership from these kids when they were freshmen to what they're doing now as seniors, and building the program, making everybody feel like a huge part of it. Our freshman kids who didn't make the regional and state roster came and supported us at all times. And I think you're right. I think people just really want to be a part of this because they're treated well by our seniors and our juniors. And again, you obviously don't win a state championship without great players. But the big difference is their buy-in to it's about Mulvane baseball over what I'm going to do. And then they started deciding that they wanted to chase this thing for their high school career. And then they knew their individual accolades would follow. But they were really bought into whatever was best for us. Now, I talked to a lot of coaches and athletes that do great things, win state titles, and there's always kind of this learning moment, or like a time where things aren't going their way. that kind of shows the greatness, right? Where you're really tested and you have to rise to the occasion. Now, I had a hard time kind of prepping for this question for you guys going 28-1, but was there ever a moment where this team really grew from facing some adversity and kind of helped to hammer home the point that they are capable of being state champions?
I don't know if, like you said, this I don't want this to sound conceited, but we really did kind of go through the season and score a lot of runs and win a lot of games by big margins. But there were 2 or 3 games in there where we didn't score runs until the 5th inning. But what I found out about the group is no matter how stressed I got or whatever it was, they tended to always just believe. And so a lot of our runs came late in 5th and 6th and 7th inning games. So they just showed to me that they could always, they were always going to show up and always be in it. Obviously, the big one probably is the loss to McPherson. It was a tough loss, close game. We can make all the excuses in the world, but we just lost. But having that happen in game 1 and then coming back in game 2 and Gray throwing a no-hitter, getting a shutout win, showed me that they knew that, okay, hey, we took one on the chin, but we're going to come right back and we're going to show people who we really are. I thought that was huge. And then, the Bishop Miege game was the big one that showed me these guys are just going to do whatever it takes.
Now, with a team like this, obviously, if you're veteran led, it doesn't feel like they're going to let moments get too big or get too amped up by, the circumstance of playing in a state tournament and playing in Manhattan and everything. But how did you see your team kind of handle that environment? Because when you get to a state tournament and there's, the stands are packed and it's this big venue and like the field isn't that much bigger, but it feels a lot bigger. How did you see your team kind of handle all of that, once you finally got to Manhattan?
Oh man, I don't know. One of the things I was driving up with some of the kids, and Hayes Inslee, one of our juniors, was talking to me, and he said, "Coach, I think it's going to be different this year," because he said, and this was on the way to Manhattan. He said after playing in Emporia, he said I wasn't near as nervous as I was last year in the state tournament. And so I think you're right. I think getting that little bit of taste the year before helped show them what it was all about. And then the moment didn't get too big. I didn't think that our kids played stressed a great deal. I mean, we had to do a lot of great things to, come back and win and get some breaks here and there. But I didn't think the moment was really big because I think they had a little bit of that the year before. They were prepared for they've played so much baseball too that they just know this is part of it. And the only other time Manny Myers told me later on that the most nervous he was when he came in that last game was when it seemed like what was on our entire town. Obviously it wasn't, but our entire town was up on their feet clapping when we had 2 outs ready to go. And then he struggled to find the zone a little bit because he said that was as nervous as he got. But I think just their confidence, they didn't let the moment get too big ever.
Again, we're visiting with the head baseball coach of the Mulvane Wildcats and Steve Nelson. And Coach, walk us through that title game. Like, all the hard work of this whole season and, years past as well, kind of building to that game and being in that moment. And finally, you get the final out and it's over. Just tell us about that day and the emotion that kind of came with it once it was all said and done.
That one's tough. The emotion at the end of it was, I tend to be really high strung. I get nervous about a lot of stuff. And like I said, having this group of kids that were constantly just telling me, Coach, we got this, don't worry about it, we're good. And that helped me a lot. But boy, at the end, my sons were telling me this, they were watching me in the dugout, not moving because I was like, I didn't want to jinx anything. My assistant coach, who I've been with forever, basically looked at me with 2 outs and said, "Are you all right?" And I don't know that I was at that point because it was the 40 years ago state championship. It was the times that we've put into this program all coming out. And so I didn't really even exactly know how to react. And I still don't think I know how to react to do it. But it was I don't know. It was joy that I can't explain. And it wasn't the dog piles at the end because of the 2 games where we came back. This one was kind of like, all right, it's 9-4. We think we have it, but it was just total, it was joy, and it was just total relief. And again, I don't know, I'm babbling on because I don't know exactly how to explain what I felt that day. But it was thoughts about my dad. It was thoughts about my head baseball coach from the past. It was just the times that I've put into this program, and all of us have. But man, it felt like the greatest thing in the world, and it still does, to be honest. So
absolutely, and rightfully so. That's amazing. Now you mentioned not wanting to jinx things. So sounds like you're a bit of a superstition guy. Walk us through some of the superstitions that you use as a head coach.
Well, for me, it's the same stuff that I wear every single game. I try not to change any of that. And we got hot in one pullover that I was wearing, and so that pullover was worn every single game from that time on. And then we got to Abilene and our regional game, and it was freezing cold. So I had to put a little more layers on, but I still had the pullover on. Our kids are kind of the same way. They ended up going with their black jerseys and white pants and didn't want to change it. And that was what we were going to wear the entire time. I have the same pin and Sharpie that I use for lineups each game. I do it at the same time. I told my wife it was weird because the week was done and we weren't at school anymore, but I wore the same Mulvane baseball pullover every game. So I think I had that on Monday with nobody in the building while I was writing lineups. Try to stand in the same place. I have a clicker in my hand that they're already doing pitch counts, but I do pitch counts while I'm doing it. Just gives me something to do. So there's a whole lot of superstitions for me, but I think big thing is the order I do things is huge, and then where I stand, and if it's not working, we move around a little bit. And and again, like you said, I'm a big non-jinx guy, so people have continued to ask, when did you know you had a really good chance at winning a state title? And I tried not to ever tell myself that the entire year because I didn't want to jinx it and make it go wrong. So those types.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in stuff like that, especially following my Royals. If I'm watching in a specific chair and it's going well, I'm staying put. But if it's not going well, I'm going to be moving around the house trying to just get something going for him. And lately, things are starting to trend in the right direction. We're starting to figure it out a little bit. But
yeah, my boys actually got up to go. Like all 3 of my sons came, and they're all graduated, obviously, and they left to go get something at the concession stand, and then we went down 2 runs in that final game, and they told their mom they were going to move and go stand somewhere different. So they're just like me when it comes to that kind of stuff. So
I love that. I love it. Now, we talked a little bit about, the future of the program and your excitement, but what's next? I mean, do you take a little time to kind of try and soak this in a little bit more, or is it right to work with summer ball and getting your kids, making sure they're staying active and playing over the summer? What's next for the program, and how do you build forward?
Well, for me, and I know a lot of programs take their kids and do a lot of different things. I've been fortunate enough here where we're close. It seems like a lot of my kids just have other places they go play in the summer, so I don't end up having to do a whole lot with my kids during the summer months. I kind of just turn them loose, and I think a lot of them were at tournaments last weekend already going. And there's 4 or 5 that play together here and 5 or 6 that play together there. And so honestly, I'm very lucky that I've got kids, parents, and great involvement. And they go do a lot of that work in the summer. We turned around and started football camp. I am assistant football coach, and we started that the week after we got back. And so you put some time into that. And then the building of it is just making sure that continue to make the kids feel like they want to be a part of it and they're around. And then, next winter, also have a great group of parents that we can't do anything with kids for a lot of the time. And those parents will take and work with them because they want the program to be great. So it's the community, it's the parent, it's the family involvement in the program that's made us so successful.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I could talk to you all day. I don't want to keep you too long, but I really appreciate you taking the time over your summer now to visit with us and talk about all this. And hopefully we'll be talking again, next spring about, building on this, doing it all again.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you having me. Appreciate you guys doing this kind of stuff for high school sports. It means a lot.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Again, that is Steve Nelson, head coach of the state champion Mulvane Wildcats. We'll take a break here on the show and be back to wrap things up right after this. Final segment of 92.3 Preps today. I am Jackson Schneider, and this is episode 4. Great interviews today from our guests in Steve Nelson, the head baseball coach of the Mulvane Wildcats, the state champions from Mulvane, as well as Emily Prichard, head softball coach of the 6A runner-up this year, the Campus Lady Colts. Great stuff from each of them. Really enjoyed getting to know them. And one of the things that I really enjoyed the most was actually after our interviews had concluded and just kind of catching up with each of them and talking about themselves and their teams. They just glow. Both Coach Nelson and Coach Prichard just glow when talking about their kids and what high school sports and, baseball and softball specifically mean to them. And they showed me a ton of gratitude just for interviewing them and talking with them about their teams and the things that their kids are doing. And that right there is the point of this show. We are here to highlight the great stories and the cool things going on in and around Wichita high school sports and beyond. Kids with connections to Wichita or from here going on and doing great things like that. That is where we start. We have only so much time on our shows on the radio. And so I had to create this show to give us more of a platform because there's so many unique stories and fun things to discuss. We just needed more time. And so I gave us more time with this podcast. So if you like what we're doing, if you are passionate about high school sports and sports here in Wichita, get into contact with me. Help this thing grow. You can email me at jschneider@espnwichita.com if you'd like to get your business involved, sponsor some interview segments, sponsor fun discussions. We're going to introduce some new segments in the future as well. So we're working on those. If you want to get involved in helping this thing grow and helping us uncover even more unique and fun stories and moments in high school sports, hit us up. Again, at ESPN Wichita on the socials. And again, you can email me at jschneider@espnwichita.com. But that's going to wrap up episode 4 of our show today. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you to Coach Prichard and Coach Nelson for visiting with us today. Looking forward to next week's show already. Have some fun this weekend as the World Cup is getting underway and the College Baseball World Series is kicking off. Enjoy the sports, enjoy the weather, have some fun, and we'll talk to you next week. I'm Jackson Schneider, and this has been 92.3 Preps.